I'm Terrence Chan, owner of Impetus Plumbing and Heating. Let me take you on a tour of my shop. So we're gonna start off with the two different sections over here that we've done. We've actually built this all ourselves. A lot of the vans out there, there's the prefab service that they help you build your van, but we wanted to make it more custom for ourselves. On the right side here, we have all our parts. So all of these are packouts, as you can see in the shop itself. We have a couple, but these packouts have all the different materials that we use, from ProPress to brass. Everything is labeled, electrical, black iron. At the bottom here, we've left some space for the vacuums for certain tools to go into in the tight spaces that, you know, have certain depths. On the bottom here, we have a bunch of crates where the extra materials go. Same with the left side here. All of that is just stocked materials that we use day to day that we can just take out from the side. So we have hooks, top rack over here. There's a ladder we've hooked on. We might do a little ladder attachment later on, but most of this area is for pipe, because a lot of time the pipe is actually longer and we don't want to put on the bottom of the van. So we've put them up on the top over here and have a section for the pipes. And then as you get closer down to this section over here, these are where all our tools are. A lot of our vans are based off of our techs. We don't really have a template where we do it for everybody to be the same, because we want to make sure that each van is customized to the tech working there so that he's more comfortable going in and out with his own tools. The side doors for our easy access. If we don't need to grab any materials, this is where we grab all the tools. We have the drain cleaning machines in here. We have a little dolly, and then the rest of the tools are a lot easier to reach within this area. So we got everything we need for our next job, and we're going to be heading over to show you guys what's happening over there. I don't know if it's superbly important, but to me, I feel that, you know, when we do wrap our vans and we do show the type of company we are, even though you're putting money into it, in any setting that you are going against other people and with competitors and anybody else, you just want to stand out in front of people. And for us, our colors that stand out is black and gold. So my main purpose of wrapping it was so that it shows people that we are a company of quality. It's what people see as a vision of when they're searching and how they can look for you and what's the easiest way. And when they do find you, what is that first impression that they see? What does it mean? Right, we've arrived at the job site, and as you can see, we're parked in this alley. This is why we like to wrap our vans, so that when people drive by, they can see it and they know that we're working in this building. So for this job, before we had two of these in place and they were not piped correctly with the storage tanks behind us. So we had to come in and repipe everything because they were running overtime and they were actually breaking down, and the heat exchangers were breaking. Pretty much everything was breaking. So what we did was we had to come in, replace the 2 units, add an extra unit for more redundancy, and at the same time change the piping that you see behind us over here. With this, we don't have to solder our connections. We don't have to have fumes. We don't have to have a hot works permit. All of this job can be done almost in a day, and while the system still has water coming out. So we have all this planned, and this is pretty much what provides all the hot water for this whole building with about 40 units. So I started my business in 2014 when I was still working for other people. So I did a lot of work on the side, but still under the name Impetus Plumbing and Heating. So I started from home in a little home office and started hiring. And as things got bigger, I was able to get a shop for myself, a warehouse, because I had so much equipment that I needed to stock. So we got this shop over here. So this is one of our workbench areas that we decided to build one day because this corner was really bare. But we also have certain things that we just like to show, like Daryl over here when he was doing a project with Masters. I think he was just gluing and took a picture of himself, and then he became the poster boy for one of their products. But a lot of the stuff we do put on is our preparations for the boards that we have here. So you can see that it's kind of scattered all over the place, but there's painting material over here. There's spray paint. There's solutions to buff things out. Because a lot of times we prep boards, we would paint our boards, or sometimes we even have epoxy. So there's a board over there later we can show, but we have epoxy pouring station here where we mix our epoxy and then we place it on the board and we get that stuff ready. It's going to be an epoxy board. This is for actually putting our appliances on there. So anything with a tankless water heater or a boiler, we put it on just for our customers so it looks extra nice. We had to seal all these corners from each side, tape it up, and then we have a 3M kind of tape in here where we taped it to be like a chameleon color. So we tape this on top of a plywood. And then once we prep that up, we have a full pour on top and we let it cure for about 48 hours, and that's the outcome of it. In some different aspects, we have different kind of tapes for it. So we have gold, we'll have carbon fiber colors with a chameleon color again, or we have a marble kind of tape. So kind of just depends on what I want to do for each project just to make it look a bit more special. Not something the customer pays, but something that we ourselves like to do and we pride ourselves on, because this is extra quality and extra work that we put in for our customers. So they kind of have to understand that it's the heart of their home practically when we have a mechanical room. So all these big crates, these are called Navien parts. They're for each type of boiler or tankless or combination boilers that they have. And what we do is we actually stock all the parts. So what's special about our business is we actually partner with Navien. We're actually called the Navien Service Specialist. And with that, we get different pricing, we get the training. And then when we have our training, we have all these boxes ready for our clients. So when we do install these boilers or tankless water heaters, the main thing that we talk about and tell them is that we're actually a specialist on this end. So if anything were to happen, they were to call us back, we actually have all those parts in stock. 90% of the time, fix it on the same day. So this shelf does have a lot going on. This is called our Viga shelf. It's all about our pressed materials that we use. So when we're prefabbing the boards, we use a lot of copper pro press. And with these copper pro press, our jaws go onto this and we have copper go in, and it crimps the copper to make a watertight seal connection. To keep this organized, the only thing that we know is just that we can tell by looking at it where the sizes are. So this is the pro press area, we call it. Top is 1 inch, we have 3/4 and 1/2 inch at the bottom here. This is the main size that we work on a lot with our heating applications. So this is the size we usually keep. And on the top there is just a little bit extra stuff of mega press and some bigger sizes if we ever run into those miscellaneous sizes that we do need. This is actually called my old tool setup. To start off, we actually have this top one. So another thing that we work on a lot other than press is we do crimp packs. So technically we have a pipe in here, we put the fittings together, and then we have a tool that crimps it together to make a watertight seal connection. These were my PEX box back in the day. We mainly use 3/4 and 1/2 inch. And Milwaukee has a great modular system where you can stack and take them off, of course. So as we go down to these tools, we have each one of my old tools, which I've taken out one at a time. So technically it's just bare bones left. Sometimes there's tools in there that we use, sometimes it's just leftovers. Back in the day, I did a lot of bigger jobs as an apprentice. So I would have a lot of big tools. So these are big tools that I would never use, like big channel locks, expensive things. And then as for the power tools, I leave at the bottom. That's practically where all the power tools are. They were the new Bluetooth ones, Milwaukee M18. So when we did a lot of service, we kind of decided that we no longer needed M18 tools just because M18 tools were a little bit too big and bulky for the service that we do. So all of us changed up to the other platform of the M12 because it's a lot smaller and lighter. So a lot of the bigger tools are now left at the shop. So if we do really need something like a substitute, then we bring it back out. Here is called the mess corner that sometimes I don't want to look at. A lot of people don't know for the industry is that with everything that we use, we create garbage. And a lot of times is we don't leave that garbage to our customers, so our guys bring back a lot of that garbage. Everything gets left here because we have to sift through the cardboard, we have to sift through the styrofoam, and we sift through the plastic. And then at the end of the day, the lucky part is if we do copper jobs, we have extra copper left, but we still have to cut them apart to spread them to differentiate the copper from brass so that we get a better pricing on the copper when we do our returns. Moving on, these are our tables. So these tables are the ones that we actually put on to prefab our boards, and they go up quite nicely. When we have it set up to start building, these tables unpack themselves, and that's it. So we start stacking 2 or 3 of them at a time, and then we put our boards on here and we start prefabbing all our work before we take it out and install it on site. So this over here is our tool corner that we're probably gonna work with a bit more on trying to make a bigger space here, more of a gapping. But practically this is where we put all our tools, whether it be power tools, drain cleaning equipment, all of it goes back to here, or extra equipment. So if we have new guys come in and they pass probation, we kind of have those extra tools where we have hand-me-downs. So all these hand tools are in place. If they want it, they pick it up, we give it to them, that kind of thing. So we have our jetters here. We have another jetter there. We work with rigid. So we have one of the flex shaft, it's called. So what that flex shaft does, it goes into your drains as you're drain cleaning, and it cleans the walls from side to side because there's a lot of gunk that stays in there. That's for the bigger size, goes all the way up to 3" to 6". And here's our machine. This is one of my favorites I started with, actually. And we do a lot of residential, so this one goes into the homes a lot. These drums are great, has good power. We've also used them for light commercial applications, and practically we've gotten every clog with it. The 5% we don't get with it, we have a bigger machine, which is the 5208 here, which these are a lot bigger. So this machine's a lot heavier. What it does is it has way bigger cables for bigger pipes. So when we have a blockage that we have to hit really hard because it's really stuck, this is the machine that we'd use for it, and 100% of the times we get those clogs. Main difference between the two is one's a drum and one's sectional. Drum means that there's a consistent whole coil that's about 75 all the way to 90 feet for what rigid has. Whereas these ones, I think they come in like 7 or 9 foot coils each, and then you connect each one of them as you go and you put each one back. Differences between the two is that if your drum is broken or you have a kink in the line, technically that whole line is almost done. Whereas if we have sectionals, if you have a break in a certain line or you have a kink in one of the lines, you can just throw one of them away and then you can use the rest of them. I think the little guy was about $2,000 and this guy was about 8,000. Every equipment that you see for drain cleaning is hella expensive. Everybody thinks that we charge an absorbent and outrageous amount for drain cleaning. But they don't understand the difference between a handyman or somebody who doesn't have equipment versus somebody who does. Because if we were to say even the lease of this cost is $7,000 or $8,000, we have this that's $2,000. Okay, that's $10,000 worth of equipment already. We didn't even go to the jetter yet. The jetter is another $8,000. Another jetter is another $5,000. Then we have that big thing over there that does the flex shaft. And the most expensive ones that people don't talk about is the cameras. So we have a camera in the corner over here. You pay $8,000 for that. Then there's another device where you have the screen. So the screen is another $3,000, $4,000. And when you add that up together and you have the batteries and everything else with it, people don't understand why we charge that amount when we actually have almost like $20,000 of equipment going into their house to fix a simple clog. We just got this ladder to get into really high places. Other ladders we just kind of accumulate over time because we needed it for certain jobs. Most of the times we don't need it for that high, other than this one, unless we're working on rooftops. We distribute our piping in different places where there's copper, there's plastic, there's PVC, there's cast iron, there's specialty piping, which are the heavier stuff for venting or for drainage. All of that's in there that we kind of put as extra or things we need because we work with a lot of McDonald's in that commercial space. So certain times that they do need that pipe and we can't get it from our wholesalers or suppliers, we tend to stock some of it just in case. And we'll move down to this shelf. This shelf is actually the water shelf area where we do a lot of our fixtures. We used to do a lot of renovations. So most of these would come in as like kitchen faucets, shower trims, parts for shower trims, shower heads, full kits, waste and overflow kits for tubs. And then we go into this shelf right here in the center. This is kind of like our heating shelf where we have all our heating equipment stuff, as you can see, some IBC parts. And this is kind of like our area where when we do our prefabs, we start grabbing parts out of this area to build our boards. And then when we're missing things, we start kind of stocking it up in that manner. Here we can kind of have a training area where different boilers set up for ones that we don't have too much training on. So we kind of go with our guys to go through this whole system with them. This is called a Viessmann. This is a boiler. We teach them how to unplug certain things, undo certain things, check for certain things. This area is called our gas area. This whole top section and the second section is all for gas piping. This is called CSST, corrugated stainless steel tubing. What we use it for is just natural gas. And the extra stuff over here is all insulation. So we've done a couple jobs where we have to insulate the pipes afterwards, and we just bought too much, and I don't know what to do with it, so it's sitting here. I'm very sure that a lot of shops are like this as well, because I've seen a lot of shops. But I think that's like common occurrence of like you trying to prepare for jobs and never able to use all of it, and you just don't have the time to sift through it to return. That hose right there is literally just for us washing cars. The rig itself is kind of interesting because my dad actually got one of these and it's pretty sweet. So as you pull, this actually starts winding. So as you know, the old school ones, when you start cranking it, you start having to actually move your hose so it goes from side to side. But since this one has that mechanism of all these things here, when you do roll it, it will actually do the turn by itself. So it actually feeds in its own way of wrapping it up properly instead of having like a big loop in between. Oh. There's a lot of stuff that are in and out in here that we're trying all the time. So when we do try and we put certain materials on, we were first trying how this material would work sticking onto it. And then we're trying to find the perfect trim for it and how we cut the corners, because you can see all these ones, these are the imperfections of what we do. But when we're on the job site now, we don't have these kind of problems because we've learned how to cut properly for these joints to go together. And in the end now, because of black and gold, we kind of chose the gold trims to put onto our board now. So this was just for fun, and this was something so that we could get it mounted on. That's it for the shop tour. Hope you guys learned something, and be sure to check out the other shop talks.